Hi, hello, how are you? Amanda, Seint artist, contour and bronzer, bronzer and contour. I get that contour can be very new to people, and so I thought I would share what I used to do before contour was contour and bronzer was it. Bronzer was bronzer. So, here's what I used to do. I used to contour with my bronzer, and I think a lot of us still do. Those people who say, I'm not really into contour. I think I'll just get the bronzer. Perfect. That's great. So I'm going to use my blush and bronzer brush because this was the kind of brush I would use to contour my face. And I would go into this. So the difference between a contour and a bronzer and a bronzer and a contour is cool versus warm. So I have cedar contour and then I have Bella bronzer. Cool, warm, you could see it right here in the light. And it's not a huge difference. And so for what I used to do is I would just take a fluffy brush and I would sweep this on the upper part of my forehead here, and then I would bring it down. This is how I contoured. And then my knee is touching my table and shaking it. But this is my way of contouring. And let's say you're thinking about trying Seint and you think, I'm not sure about that contour. That looks crazy. It does. It does. And so I want you to stop overthinking it. So I'm just pushing this up in between, or not in between, but in front of my ear and down. And then I use my bronzer to bridge my neck. Stay doing that, okay? Stay doing that. Grab that bronzer, sweep it onto your neck, and bridge your neck. But this is very much similar to what we're asking when we talk about contour. So when we say it's a system, my bronzer is a foundation just like my contours. Here's the difference that I think with this, on top of it being cool versus warm. Shadows are cool toned. Warmth from the sun is going to be warm, but also density. Our Bella bronzer is very creamy, and I like to know that when I put something somewhere, it's going to stay where I put it. Like my kids, when I put them somewhere, they better stay. But bronzer's a lot like kids. They're my wiggle. And so this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to take my detail brush because if you are unsure about trying contour and all you have is a fluffy brush, I would urge you to get a detail brush. This is an amazing brush for learning how to contour, and this can tidy all the things up, and I'm going to show you how. So let's start with the forehead. So I swept this around. The thing with contour is it's dense, all right? And so we're putting it in the same areas that I just did my bronzer. I just swept it around, up and around my eye. You still do that, but you're using more of a cool tone, okay? You're using more of a cool tone. So using your bronzer the way it's intended instead of taking it and sweeping it around, and you probably will need to add a little more than you usually would, which can make this makeup appear a bit more thick. I need to get my hair back. When you're using your bronzer, you're going to notice that it's creamy and that you might, this is a terrible look, but that's fine. But when I put it on, it's warm and it's very pretty. I like the depth that I get when I'm using my contour. So I'm going to grab it. And again, we just sweep this around the way we would normally with that bronzer. And I keep it low on the cheekbone above the natural shadow of our cheek. And then I also use that same area up here. And when I color match you, I'm taking into account your undertones and your warm tones with picking your colors. I really want to pick a palette to help customize what you want from your makeup. So if you like that warmth, but you don't want to pull orange, I'm going to pick a contour that might have a touch of warmth to it, and you can use it the exact same way. But then you can take your bronzer and you just add it in on that high point of the cheekbone to add that warmth. So it has that natural warmth that the sun brings, but then you get that depth that a shadow brings. They're both good. They have their differences, but I like adding that contour, but do it when you're ready. All right, so I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to add a touch of coolness to the upper part of my forehead. So I had swirled that around all up there. I'm just adding a little bit of depth to the top here. And then I'm going to just touch a little bit to the base of my cheekbone here. And it's just going to be an addition to. Is it the end all be all? No. Everything can be done in a way that keeps things in your comfort zone. And then I don't want to turn my nose brown, and that's why I didn't do bronzer, but I like using my fingers on my nose. It just makes things simple. What's nice about using a cream, and I feel like this is maybe one of the things that keeps people from feeling like they can use a bronzer and a contour. It's when a contour is needing to be kind of put in a particular space, like the sides of the nose. You can use this little end here going into your brightener and sweeping it down. And this just gives you freedom. I like the way that when you're using your contour, it's dense and it's going to stay where you put it. It's not going to turn you a shade of orange, which a lot of people worry about, by using that contour in the same way. But it looks very natural and true to what you look like. I'm just adding what's left on my brush from that brightness. And I'm just adding it over here to just give that little natural blend. Blendy, blendy, blend. The nose is the hardest part for me. I think the nose can be the hardest part for a lot of people. But using that contour to work with your bronzer can be really, really pretty and add a more natural tone to your makeup, because we're not naturally warm. Not everybody. And so using that as a way to accent is so good. But finding that contour as a way of just adding that natural structure, it's chef's kiss to me. And so I always like to say, if you're used to doing bronzer, keep going. And grab your contour when you're ready. But if you want to give it a whirl, sorry, my battery's going dead. Give it a whirl. So we're going to go in and we're going to add our blush. I'm going to use my Frenchie and I'm going to put that here. And I like when I bring my bronzer onto my face like I just did, because it adds a little touch of warmth to that blush. But I'm taking pink grapefruit here, and I always put this at the tops of the cheeks, and then I bring it down into the apples, and it's just pretty. Makeup is pretty, and when you put your makeup on, you should put it on in the way that makes you feel good. And if that's using your bronzer as a contour, 100% do it. I'm just saying, if you're curious about it, you're probably already doing it with your contour. If you're curious about using your, I'm going to start setting my face. If you're curious about using bronzer because you've seen us all using it and it looks so good, because it is, give it a try. Add it to your palette. It's a $16 color, and I'm telling you, if you go to Sephora and you want to try one of their contours, it's going to be $30 or more. But I like the way that it can be natural, and I like the way that they can work together. All right, so I'm going to take my contour and I'm just going to add it under my lip here and over my lip. Instead of outer lining, I'm going to use my shadow to make my lips look bigger than they are instead of an outer lining. But then I can use my shadow to do that. But then I can go in with my bronzer and I can use it as my lip liner. Because it's creamy, it blends in with your lip sticks or colors. I'm going to use my blush color. It works so well together, and they blend really easily. So I'm just going to take that pink grapefruit color, and that's my lip. And the way it works with that bronzer, that Bella bronzer, is so pretty. And they work together. So your contour will keep shadowing your lip, and then your bronzer makes a really great blendable lip liner that's creamy and nice and lovely. So I always say cool and warm go together like peanut butter and jelly. And so if you're looking to add contour to your routine, you're not going to regret it. It's the peanut butter and jelly of your face, okay? But it also translates to the rest. So it's not just your cheeks, it's your forehead, it's your nose, it's your lips, it's your jawline. And using them to work together can give you a really nice natural structure. And it could just be your night look. So when you go out for the night, you sometimes bump up your eye makeup and make it a little more sultry and a little more pretty. You could do your bronzer during the day and then go grab that contour and just jazz up your face a little bit for night. And it could be the night of your face. The way that dark is the night of your eyes, the same goes for the contour for the end of the day, for a nice dinner. And it feels, I always say, try it and see how you feel. That's every makeup. It's not sometimes for people, it's not the way it applies, it's the way that it looks. I like cool and warm together. I love it. And so I always want to tell people, if you're using bronzer and not contour, you're probably already contouring, you're just using a warm color. And so introducing that cool tone to go with it it's gonna just take that look and elevate it just a little bit. It's the little touches that make the difference. It doesn't have to be dark and bold and scary. It can be lovely. And so that's all I wanted to share, was that you are probably already contouring with your bronzer, and grab that detail brush, grab that bronzer, and try it out. Just give it a whirl. What's the worst that can happen? It's makeup. It washes off. All right, that's it. Have a great day.